This seems more about we're bringing in grittiness, toughness, the right people, the guys that love basketball, that are hungry. They want to work hard. You got a coach that I think wants to coach hard.
Hello and welcome into another edition of Three Ma. I'm John Kurtz, joined by Derek Young. Get a grab bag today. A lot happening. One somewhat official basketball announcement, one definitely official basketball announcement, and a commitment for football as they continue to load up on the offensive line. So we'll talk about it all after we tell you about our good friends at Holiday Distillery. Whatever it is that you are going to be doing this summer and late spring, make sure that you load up on Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon or 360 Vodka. Makes everything better, whether it's just hanging out on the porch, whether you're going to be watching some Royals baseball. Make sure that you've got Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon on hand, people. No Cole today, just me and DY, but that's okay. We'll take you through everything that's happened on the basketball front. I guess we'll start with hoops. It was a little bit more eventful there. Now, we have talked already about Andre Kostic, who's another one of these overseas European players that K-State has been after. I think we felt like this was already done, and that's why we had talked about it on the podcast. But that was just from what had been told to us. We now have some confirmation from the other side, and by the other side, I mean Serbia.
Yes.
Serbia reports that Andre Kostic is coming to K-State. There were a couple of different reports out there, some of it being more like aggregated than in the U.S. And there's a bit of dispute over how much K-State is actually paying here, because translating the Serbian news outlet that reported about it made it seem like this was going to be a much more affordable addition than what Adam Zagoria said about it. He said, and this is what I would much more trust, that it was a $2.5 million NIL deal. I think we both feel like this was a sought-after kid. This is somebody that is very good. I would tend to believe that based on what the going rate is here in the States on most high-level prospects. So I guess we can start there. DY, your reaction to getting some confirmation, and then what it appears the price is.
It's nice just having something firm, and we don't have to say, if you take into consideration that they may have these two. Now you have something firm holding it down. I even think this has probably been signed for a few weeks. I think that we, like I said, I think we've noted, we believe they're just waiting for the announcements. I think the Elias Rapika situation is similar or identical in nature. Not maybe the price tag. I don't know about that, but the situation in terms of, I think we're just waiting for someone to say it's done, because it probably is done. And when it comes to Kostic, I definitely believe the heavier price tag. This is a really, really good player. I think there is some even mock drafts to have him going in the second round of the NBA draft already as a 19-year-old. So it kind of sounds like you're getting, I'm not talking maybe style player or even positional similarity here, although he will play guard. Maybe it's not a lead guard. But we're talking about an Igor Demon, where if he can come over and translate really well to make sure you're almost like verifying, confirming the talent going up against, other really good players, then the sky's probably the limit in terms of how he may be viewed from a professional level. He's a really good player. I think the first that we had heard of him was that just about everyone would probably be on him, but there was some question of whether or not he would come over to the United States to actually play college basketball. And that was the reservation that some of the teams had when considering recruiting him. And then, and I think there might have been like a large buyout associated with that. So I think that maybe tempered interest a little bit and maybe gave Kansas State a bit of an inside track. We know Illinois, they are, Brad Underwood and the Illini are like the Balkan like recruiters, right? half their team is going to be from that region of the world, and I think they were in on him as well, and just chose to really choose different players from the same region that maybe can provide something similar.
Was Demon supposed to be was he a first round pick? Was that what the consensus was on him when he came over?
I don't know that he was a consensus first round pick until he came over, and people saw it translate the first couple of weeks. They're like, okay, this works, so he's a first rounder. It's almost like they kind of wait for that verification confirmation moment against other really good college basketball players.
Yeah. Okay. Because yeah, I mean that's why I'm like I don't feel like there's any reason this can't be like an Igor Demon sort of situation. K-State probably needs it to be if the team is going to be an NCAA tournament team.
Different kinds of players. This guy,
Yeah.
Andre Kostic, uh, Igor Demo is probably more facilitator, flashy passer, which Kostic can. He's got some incredible passes in his highlight reel.
I was gonna say I don't know. I saw a lot of flashy passes out of that
Yeah,
guy.
don't let it fool you. But like this guy's, I mean, the last four games in that Serbian league that he plays in, and I'm not going to pretend to know what it is and what it isn't, quite honestly. But he's scoring like 30, 36, and 39 points in the last three of the last four games. And I mean, the 30-point game was with 8 assists and 4 rebounds. The 30-point game was with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. So he's kind of just filling up the stat sheet as well. I think in the basketball league of Serbia, I think that's how it would translate to what it would be called. At just 18 years old, across 39 games, averaging 14 points, about 3 assists, about 3 rebounds. So 36% from three. He could shoot it as well. Now he's young, so you maybe have some growing pains and something to get over the hump there, but the talent is oozing, to put it simply.
It's a fun watch. If you go find highlights of him, it is a very fun watch. So I mean, the potential definitely seems to be there.
Yeah, you're dealing with a kid, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think you were going to find, especially at this stage in the game, somebody with that level of skill over here. Which is why you've got Brad Underwood going over there and getting like a whole starting five. So
Well, yeah, he took that Stojakovic kid. It's been in the United States
yeah, I mean
for a few years, but
does he
obviously from
count?
the region. I think one of the players, and I'm not going to have the name offhand, that Brad landed is like an MVP candidate in one of the leagues over there.
Yeah. Well, hey, can't turn down Brad Underwood, man. We've
That,
had him on this show. You can see why.
yeah, I mean that's what NIL is kind of changing the game on multiple fronts. Is that you have less guys declaring early for the NBA draft, right? And that was the recent thing where I think like 4 years ago, over 300 players were declaring for the NFL or for the NBA draft. This year was barely 100, so it's keeping a lot of talent in college basketball for longer because the money now makes sense, but it also allows those international players to not stick around in some of those professional leagues and also come over and play college basketball. So there's a lot of negative consequences of what NIL has kind of turned things into. And I think we saw some of that at Kent State last year in terms of the hurdles and things that you have to navigate and kind of hop around. But at the end of the day, I think it's made college basketball much more talented.
Now, one thing, I'm throwing this out on the fly at you because I saw somebody mention this, but isn't he's going to stick around and play through the summer, which I mean,
He'll probably the timelines that I saw, he'll probably move in, be able to hang around for a couple weeks maybe, but then he's going to be gone for probably a good 4 to 6 weeks. Being in the practice camps and then playing in I think the FIBA World Championships. I don't know if it's the under-19 or whatever it is, but he's going to be representing Serbia. Yeah.
which like is great, but now I'm kind of back to, I mean, last year it seemed like such a problem that the team just never got together very early, and Coleman Hawkins had the injury and was just kind of off doing his own thing, and they never really built a lot of chemistry together. I mean, that's my only
I
concern.
think they actually, because Jerome Tang was very insistent on that happening, so I think they actually did get together quite a bit early. They had a couple guys signed late, but the only one that was kind of just like off to, you know, in isolation, seems like Coleman Hawkins, and because they were together for longer than even the prior 2 years, in my opinion, from what I can recall. The issue being then you got into the first sign should have been the criticisms of Shark Week. Now looking in hindsight of what that season was going to be.
Yeah, but it definitely seems like Coleman Hawkins was not. I mean, he got off to such a slow start, and the team didn't really know how to use it. I think that clearly affected things. So now, if you've got one of your best players here doing the same thing, I mean, to me, that raises a bit of level of concern. But I guess there's probably nothing you can do. You'd rather have the player than not. I'm just saying, to me, that's something I'll be watching. I don't love that.
On the flip side, it made David Gasson better doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't doubt that it's going to make him better as a player. And I don't think with him is like a little different than Coleman Hawkins. He's not coming off of an injury. Like, I think he'll be able to hit the ground running in terms of just being able to play.
Yeah. Those guys are also in more playing shape. They're still playing right now.
But he's also somebody that lives in a different freaking country, and he's coming to Manhattan, Kansas. Like, that's going to be a little bit of a culture shock. So, he's going to have a lot to, and as you said, he is young. So he's going to have a lot to get used to and get acclimated to.
Yeah. I can't say I know a whole lot about Serbia. I don't know if it's going to be like a culture shock, like going from Paris to Manhattan, Kansas. I don't know where he's at in Serbia.
Well, I guess I could say this. The culture seems to be similar in that, I pull up this Serbian news site, sportclub.n1info.rs. It's got lots of pop-up ads. So very much similar to what you would experience in the, it asked me the question, will I accept cookies? At least I assume that's what it was. I clicked the button, so who knows? And then 2 seconds later, I had a pop-up where they're trying to, take my email address and send me stuff about football, tennis, SK fights. I don't know what all this stuff is. So seems very similar culturally in that respect.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Hopefully no viruses there, Nick. I don't know. For a second, it was like slowing down my computer for a little bit, and I was like, oh, it's gonna like tank the stream right now. Like, I was a bit worried about that. I'll be completely honest. Okay, let's take a break, and we'll come back and talk about the new coach that K-State has added. DY, are you actually wearing K-State home field apparel today? Is that what this is?
I think so.
Well, the chat demanded it, and the chat got it. By that, I mean, of course, our patrons, patreon.com/3ma over on the Discord, they were clamoring for that yesterday. Like, when is DY going to actually wear K-State? Ask and you shall receive, everybody. DY is actually wearing K-State.
It was like I heard the bat signal or something.
Yeah. Very, very good work. You can get 50 plus K-State designs there. Best college gear around. You see it everywhere. They have completely taken over market share wise as far as that goes. So get to homefieldapparel.com. You can also search through 100 plus other teams. If you need a gift for somebody, maybe like a Mother's Day gift coming up, homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code 3MOD24 for 15% off your first order. And we are back in just a moment.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Are you ready to win some real cash during the basketball playoffs? Well, check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. When it comes to basketball payouts, DraftKings Pick 6 posterizes the competition, and yeah, that includes prize picks. Hit all of your picks and score higher minimum payouts on Pick 6, plus even more cash if you outscore the competition. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. New players get 50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Here's what you gotta do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to play $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offers. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, so we get an official release from K-State on this one. It is Bill Peterson joining the coaching staff, a veteran coach. We have known about this for a while, but it is now actually official. I guess I don't know that we've really talked about it here on the podcast, so that was not meant to be a humble brag, everybody. I'm sorry. Look, I like this move, getting a veteran coach. We've been talking about this. Like, the staff needed to get a veteran presence, more of a veteran presence, hopefully somebody that can, offer some real, because look, we love Jerome Tang, but he is still pretty young as a head coach, and especially navigating a world that is totally new to basically everybody with the current climate of college athletics. Just felt like having a real veteran steady presence could be helpful in that. That's what you're getting here. Now, his resume is very interesting. He's been in a support staff role at Baylor since 2017. So obviously there's your connection with Tang. He's also been all over the place. He's been an assistant coach at Louisiana Tech, McNeese State, Colorado State, Denver. I guess I screwed up the Denver. He was at Denver last year on their staff as an assistant. He was at Baylor from 17 to 24. But yeah, spent a lot of time at Colorado State, McNeese State, Louisiana Tech. He's also spent time in the NBA, special assistant with the Warriors, development scout with the Mavericks. He's been with the Bucks from 2007 to 13. So, look, they rattle off the resume of guys he's worked with in the NBA: Dirk Nowitzki, Steve Nash, Karl Malone. Pretty impressive list there. So he's been around the block, I guess, is the point here. So I'm happy with this one, DY.
One of the more interesting parts of his resume, in my opinion, was, I don't know if you have it right in front of you, so maybe you can confirm it one way or another. I think he was the head coach of the Bay Area Skyhawks or something like that.
Well, it says he has G League experience with the Texas Legends and the Erie Bayhawks.
Erie Bayhawks. He was the head coach of the Erie Bayhawks. So that's just another interesting layer. Clearly a lot of NBA pedigree, which you kind of like. He's coached just about every level of basketball, which was one of the, I guess, selling points in the release that Jerome Tang sent out. He's worked with Jerome Tang at Baylor from 2017 to 2022. Then Tang got the K-State job. He was a lead assistant at the University of Denver last year, or maybe Denver University is how you pronounce it. I don't know. So, like you said, a basketball guy, right? Like, it just seems like this guy lives, breathes, eats, sleeps basketball. Probably knows it inside and out. A lot of scouting experience, developmental experience, and I think we've heard that he's kind of has this, I guess, reputation is what I would call it for, just these stringent, maybe grueling is another way of put it, like basketball training exercises that it sounds like maybe something along the lines of what, Kevin Sutton was originally brought on to do before he left.
Yeah, maybe kind of an ass kicker, which also probably something that they could use.
Yeah, I agree.
It feels like sort of a vibe shift, with going this route, and we still expect them to be adding somebody else to the staff too. So I don't.
Yeah, I don't know that this is a 1-for-1 replacement for Jurek Malachy. Like I think people just assume and are under that impression that he's like not that he's going to have like the same roles and responsibilities, but I think this is more of like the Franklin Miskelly replacement. But maybe like a larger role, more responsibilities, different responsibilities than his predecessor, of course, where I think it was like him getting his feet wet and on the ground and allowed him to become one day a college coach, which he now is. Bill Peterson, I think, is more of what Kevin Sutton was going to be. So again, I don't know that I would say he's one of the primary coaches. I think they're still going to go out and get that associate basketball assistant coach.
Right. Like, yeah, it seems like they would still be on the lookout for somebody who would also bring, potentially a lot of experience there. So loading up on, and that's something we've been talking about and clamoring for a while. So I mean, that this seems very positive. I want to make that clear. I know that it's not like, Bill Peterson's a guy who's been around for a very long time. It's not like this is some young up and coming like hot shot, which is usually, the way that's what I would gravitate toward. But a couple things. I mean, one, the environment's just way different now because you're paying for players and recruiting is a lot different in that environment, but also just specific circumstance with this staff and Tang, very personable guy. He goes and recruits. He's getting on the plane himself to go to Europe to see these guys. Like, you got no problem getting him to go recruit. What this staff seemingly clearly needed was more veteran experience and somebody who can, that Jerome Tang will respect, right? And like will listen to. And I think if you're seeing this is a guy that he spent, whatever that was, 6 years at Baylor with, and has been on Scott Drew's staff for an extra couple there. I mean, I'm sure that there is an incredible amount of respect between those two. So
yeah, like a process-oriented, organizational type hires, I think, are what would help Jerome Tang out a lot because, and this is not totally meant to come across as a criticism, but I think that's where I guess their shortfalls have been, like having someone that can bring things together in a little bit more of a symbiotic form instead of when you feel like you're shooting from the hip, I think is what we've kind of almost phrased it as before. I think you need like a process, an organization, structure, or at least someone that is really good about forming those or fostering it. And you would think veteran coaches that have been around the block are probably the best at doing that.
Yeah. Did you just go trust the process on me?
Trust the process. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, with these two additions now, how much better are you feeling about basketball?
I would say I like the kind of people that and the kind of what they're bringing in. This seems more about we're bringing in grittiness, toughness, the right people, the guys that love basketball, that are hungry, they want to work hard. You got a coach that I think wants to coach hard. Like, there's a lot of spots left to fill. I say a lot. I think there's 4 roster spots, maybe 4 or 5 in that ballpark. You got another coach to hire. You got a lot of work still in front of you. And the problem is that, and I think we spoke about it on the last show, is perhaps a shrinking talent pool as well at the same time. But I like the kind of character and traits and personalities and toughness that they're seeking and landing, so to speak. I would just say right now, they're probably just a little short-handed on the talent side because they haven't landed everybody. And we'll see if they are able to still land some talented guys. The problem is, we said this, it's the overpay period, right? You want a really talented player, well, they're probably going to be a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see if they have something up their sleeve as far as that goes. But yeah, it's gonna cost somebody a pretty penny. Speaking of that, what about reaction to Igana Onyenso getting $1.5 million from Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, that would have been a lot of money last year. It's not a lot of money this year, to be quite simple. Like 1.5 is a low-end power force high major starter, they say.
I get, but are they considering him a starter? I mean,
you would. I guess that's my assumption, is that they were going to consider him a starter. In the right system, he could probably be. It just never worked for him. I mean, you got to remember, it never worked.
You're right. I can tell.
Kentucky, he had some really good games and started a handful of games. So in the right system, I don't know if it was ever a fit from on multiple probably fronts, but the defense has to be predicated on what he can do, because if you try to do something he can't, then you're screwed.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely right about the going rate. Like, if you do consider him a star, but yeah, I was just like, man, making over $3 million the last 2 years he got on Yenzo. Maybe he'll be much better this year. I wish him nothing but the best. I no ill will toward him specifically, but yeah.
It's funny. He made a little bit more than that, I think, at K-State this past year. Maybe he didn't get the final check, so maybe he didn't really get all the way to what the contractual number was just because he didn't stay for 12 months. But I will say what the contractual number was a little bit more than that. That was probably top 10 money last year, and now it's low-end, high-major starter.
Yeah.
How crazy it has escalated.
Yeah, the market changed for sure. All right, we've got a little football to talk about. K-State has added a new offensive lineman, and we'll tell you about it in just a second.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
All right, Terrence Enos is the new K-State offensive lineman, played for Pitt, 6'4", 280 pounds, offensive tackle. That's probably not fair. I just read 6'4", 280 from his recruiting profile. I'd imagine,
definitely not that anymore.
Yeah, I'd imagine well, here's the problem. I was looking up info on him. It just wiped him from completely cleared him out of everything. Pitt was not happy about Enos deciding to transfer because they have scrubbed it all, dude. I need Pitt to go start doing some of this for me so that, people can't dig up dirt on me. I need them to get rid of my online presence. That would be great.
Yeah, I think he's over $3 bills now. I think he's well over $3 bills.
It's like, as I was reading it, I was like, he's not 280. What the hell is this? And then I was like, oh, no, that's the recruiting profile. My bad.
Yeah, that's Pittsburgh, some pettiness. Like, do they not even archive archives rosters? Do they?
Yeah, but D. White, who's their coach?
Pat Narduzzi. Yes,
that's his vibe, dude.
Do they not archive rosters either? Like K-State, don't go back and look at past years.
I know. Yeah, I get maybe if I searched like 2023. Yeah, that's fair, possibly. But Pat Narduzzi, that guy has kind of that like small man syndrome where it just feels like he's very petty and vindictive, man.
Do you think he just texts someone to delete him, or do you think he actually pushed the button himself because he wanted that joy?
I just imagine he would text like a GIF of somebody doing like the slit the neck. That's how I picture it. All right, but he's going to be a cat. We knew that they were after some offensive tackle help. I think JB Nelson already, I felt like, filled that need, whether he was going to be a tackle or go inside, and then Lane Gang can play tackle. But I'll take some extra help here. I don't think this is as high caliber player as JB Nelson, but still somebody that can definitely help out and is a power 4 level player. So they've done an excellent job, man, at addressing this need.
Yeah. What's interesting is I consider JB Nelson the much better player of the two, without debate, to be quite honest. And that's not a slap in the face of Enos. That's just, I like JB Nelson that much. But what's interesting is, like, this past season, Terrence Enos started games and JB Nelson didn't. So it's an interesting way to look at it. Now, what you're competing with on your own roster there is a little bit different between Penn State and Pittsburgh, obviously. But Terrence Enos did start 3 or 4 games this past year at Pittsburgh, and another guy that can both play inside and out, much like JB Nelson. So you're getting probably just the depth piece for 1 year. I think he only has 1 year of eligibility remaining, but a guy that can probably be depth at multiple spots. So he's going to hold some incredible value in that way. We'll see what Brian LePack likes to do from a rotational standpoint. As the new Kansas State offensive line coach, Connor Riley was not afraid to rotate guys in and out. Sometimes he would always have 1 or 2 spots in the offensive line that almost turned into platoon situations as well. I remember Taylor Portier being in a couple of those. So it'll be interesting. They've added, if you can include Brandon Snee from Wagner that bolted already, they've added 5 transfer offensive linemen just in this offseason alone now, between George Fitzpatrick, Amos Talalele, JB Nelson, Brandon Snee, and now Terrence Enos. So they wanted to get older, I think, clearly. I think they were also probably leery of the idea that they're returning probably the least amount of snaps and starts to the offensive line that they have in a long time. Now, the challenge going forward will be to get these pieces to be symbiotic and have a lot of cohesion and chemistry by game one, because now you're integrating a lot of guys that have not played together yet. And as folks that are experts on the offensive line know, it's not really about individual talent. It's about what the sum of those parts can be together. It's almost like a dance, and you got to get all five on the same page. So that'll be the task that Brian LePac has moving forward, because he's done the first part right, and he got talented and he got deep in a hurry. I think JB Nelson's probably starter level, and they probably can now, or at least insurance to John Pastore if they still wanted to start him, because he's going to be healthy now. We'll see if he can stay healthy, because that's the insurance. So, or you at least probably have a battle now at right tackle between like John Pastore and JB Nelson, or maybe Angel Linegang, depending on who goes inside and who doesn't, right? Well, and I think it allows you as a redshirt freshman to not thrust Gus Hawkins into the water, the deep end, too quick. He can get his feet wet and maybe be ready to go as a sophomore. And I think that ladder of development is probably something that he's more comfortable with, and it'll be better for his future as well. And then you got guys like Ross and Talalele that I guess can be your backups moving forward as well. So it erased some consternation, I think, that we had about the offensive tackles. But now it's like, can you guys get cohesive quick?
Which will be a challenge with a new offensive line coach too. I mean, I think you'd feel a little more confident in that if Connor Riley were still around. Now, even then, there's a debate about if he's the offensive coordinator still, and you've got that responsibility on his plate too. But Brian LePac has his work cut out for him. But I agree with you; they've crushed it. I mean, not just with the offensive line. I think generally with using the portal this year, now that the dust has kind of settled on that, they didn't lose much, and they have added a lot of really potentially high impact guys and guys that we're hearing great things about. The receiver room, maybe on paper, it wasn't a bunch of guys that really flashed, but the early returns on that seem to be very good. And it's kind of what the staff has always done. They've been really, really good at being efficient with the guys that they're adding in the portal. So I said this in the Discord the other day. If you want to be a part of it, daily conversation, patreon.com/3ma to sign up. I was like, look, I mean, it's kind of been the narrative on the season for a while for me. If Avery Johnson takes a big step forward, this team's going to be very, very good. But it's just accentuated even more to me now, because I'm like, you look at what they've added, like they've done about as good a job as you could possibly imagine plugging holes around the rest of the roster. They continue to develop more young talent than they've had in a while. Just with high school recruiting, like it's set up if Avery Johnson can take a step forward.
Yeah, and by all accounts, he should be ready to do so. And you mentioned it, but they lost very little, you said. Well, I would just say they didn't lose any at all, because they didn't lose a single player that they wanted to keep. And some of the best teams in America don't do that. And it's not, and people will say, well, yeah, but people beating down their doors to get anyone. And I bet there was. It's just, it sends a message of the loyalty that these guys had to the coaches. So they really, really like their coaches. And especially Chris Kleiman. I think that it really starts from the top down. I think the locker room is just, connected to Coach Kleiman. Like, very little do you see that from an entire locker room to a head coach in college football. I think that what they have there is very unique. And on top of that, some NIL power, because you can't do it without money.
Yeah, for sure. They have flexed that. They've done a great job with that. They've done a great job, as we said this the other day on the show, but just being organized. Clint Brown being the GM, they've done a really good job with that. And as far as people snooping around, I mean, look, we know for sure of instances with Tennessee and Texas just offhand that were snooping around. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely been people snooping around the roster.
That's just a little bit. There's definitely been play more. I think and in the winter there I think there was a handful of teams that tried to come for Austin Romaine. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I remember that. That was a brief little scare. Yeah. All right. Good things. As far as football is concerned, man, that hype machine's going to build. Cole's going to have K-State at 16 wins by the time we kick this season off. You play 16 games. I think you can play 16 games in the playoff, right?
Yeah, I think Penn State did last year because I think the thing was JB Nelson played in all 16 games. So I think that's the number.
Yeah.
I mean, I said the last show, I think I've said on a show before that Kansas State will get to Arlington. And I said the last show, like they're approaching where I think generally a lot of us would view it as a disappointment if they didn't. Now, the Big 12 is very like wide open and competitive. I know that there's several teams and it makes it a little dicier, and especially with your wonky beginning of the schedule where you play on a Friday, you play in Europe, you play Farmageddon in week 0, you play a service academy. Like they have an extreme inability to get in a routine for the first month of the season that is going to complicate things a little bit. But if they can navigate that and get by, then I think they'll be sitting pretty.
Yeah. I'm excited for it, man. It's going to be a fun summer leading up to all of it.
Any instant reaction to any Staples not having Kansas State in his top 25?
Now, whatever. It's just my reaction is that
people called it rage bait, and I don't think it is because I don't think you target Kansas State for that.
It's not, guys. It's not rage bait. I promise you, Andy Staples was not thinking about targeting K-State fans with his preseason top 30 or whatever it is, post-spring top 30. This guy, if you think the K-State fan base is like, oh, we can target them and it'll get a lot of interaction and vitriol, the guy deals with SEC and Big Ten fan bases all the time. There are far greater fan bases to go after if that's the idea. He just doesn't think they're a top 30 team. That's fine. Now, like Texas Tech at number 11, pretty freaking rich for my blood. I understand that they're ridiculously talented, but all the questions that we just talked about, hey, how can you make the talent fit together? We'll see. I mean, I think Joe McGuire is a solid coach. I don't know that I believe in him yet to magically snap his fingers and make that work, especially when Baron Morton is still his quarterback. But it's fine. I understand from a national perspective, someone being like, look, they added the number 1 portal class. They just keep adding guys. They have all this money. Like, I get why that happens. And I was at the point at the beginning of the offseason where I was like, I don't know that K-State's like a top 25 team. I was kind of surprised when I saw K-State in so many preseason top 25s. Now, my attitude has shifted, but I'm in the weeds paying attention to that on a daily basis. So I guess that's my reaction to it. I don't think it's like completely indefensible crazy.
Yeah, what I would say, I think what his probably logic argument is that Kansas State, I think because of the way that they finished last season, did finish 6th or 7th in the Big 12, technically. Even though they did win 9 games, I think they still finished like 6th or 7th in the Big 12. And I think they're like middle of the pack when it comes to roster continuity, which I think losing DJ Giddens is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. And then some of the receivers that really weren't great also. So I think the roster continuity or the returning production thing is a little skewed. It doesn't really tell a clear picture, especially since you're also talking about defensive backs outside of Jacob Parrish and maybe Marquise Siegel that weren't great either. So you can actually get some addition by subtraction there. It's ignoring maybe the offensive line pieces that they've added because George Fitzpatrick could be really good, but he didn't play at Ohio State because they had first rounders at every offensive line spot seemingly. So that's probably the argument. You look at Bill Connolly's, like, what is it called? Returning production, roster continuity thing and the percentage or whatever. And Kansas State's not really high. But I think when you dig into the weeds of that, I don't think it paints a clear picture.
Well, also, we're fans who follow this on a daily basis. I'm sure there are a lot of fan bases who look at their transfers that may not be that highly rated and like, oh, hey, we're hearing great things and that, so we're really high on this guy, and not all those are going to hit, not all those are going to work out. Like it's okay. It's okay that Andy Staples doesn't have you in the top 30. It's fine. Honestly, I would kind of prefer that for this team. They've had expectations weighing heavily on them for the last couple of years.
Just think about someone that's not diehard or completely informed about every crevice of the Kansas State roster. And he sees you lost DJ Giddens, who is an NFL draft pick and went over 1,000 yards, well over 1,000 yards, 2 straight seasons. He was a large part of your offense, and you're replacing it with like Dylan Edwards and Joe Jackson. That probably doesn't seem one for one to them.
Yeah. And mystery transfer to be named later, Just keep you with a little tease here to end the show. All right. if you want more, patreon.com/3ma. We've had some people getting signed up here, which is great. Make sure to do that if you want to hang out with us and hear from us on a daily basis. Otherwise, Cole, I'm sure we'll be back soon. Thank you to Nick Springer behind the scenes. Thank you to our great sponsors. For Derek Young, I'm John Kurtz. Appreciate you listening to 3Ma. We'll talk to you very soon. Take care.